Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning into the show. Help me, help you. My name is Chris Sutton. This is Mental Conversations.
I'm unsure I can be so absent-minded.
Boom. And we're live. So here we are again, back in the Dale, virtually. I'm looking at the very happy smiley face of Viv Buckland. Viv, thank you for coming back on the show.
Very nice to be here. It's good to see your smiley face too.
There you go. I like these, and we were just saying before we press record, we're getting quite a lot of good feedback from people about this kind of series that we've put together. So that's nice. So we're probably due a dip in quality. So let's not worry too much about today.
Thanks. That just set the frame up nicely. Why don't you, Chris? Yeah.
Low bar. So today we're going to talk about the helping other people and how helping other people can improve your well-being. And when I first was thinking about the 8 subjects that I wanted to talk to you about, this was one of them, because I was really surprised at how helping other people impacted on my own well-being, and that's why I wanted to talk about it. So yeah, I don't know, in a nutshell, just to start off, why do you think helping other people helps us?
I think that it helps us because it takes you outside of yourself. One of the things that you often notice about somebody who's feeling down is they're wrapped up in their own feelings. They're so caught up in them that it feels hard to escape from them. And there's a lot of self-talk that goes on about how bad things are and how low life looks. Whereas when you're helping others, it's kind of like chocolate and comfort food that release dopamine and give you that feel-good factor. Helping somebody else is one of those things that leaves you feeling good. It releases positive chemicals. So it leaves you feeling good. And I think the other real benefit of helping other people is it stops you focusing on yourself the whole time. You focus on somebody else, takes you out of yourself. So I can see all sorts of reasons why helping other people is a really good and really positive thing.
It's interesting that, because I've never thought about it like that, which is why I like talking to you. You always have a viewpoint that I've not thought of. And I think that actually, when you are struggling, if you are kind of struggling, or you're looking to do something that is going to improve the way you feel and the way you kind of view the world, then I suppose, having that escapism of taking yourself out of yourself is quite a really nice thing to be able to find, isn't it? So I'll tell you a couple of stories if you like, so that listeners can hear this as well, as to kind of what's happened for me. I've just tried to avoid that word journey again. I've done it well. So for me, it was when I started when I was feeling a little bit better. I mean, anyone who's not listened to the podcast we did about depression and suicidal thoughts, go back an episode or 2 and listen to that so you get the context. But I started actively looking for things that were going to help. And there are these 5, or sometimes people say 6 ways to well-being. And some of those are, one of those is about giving back and is about helping other people.
Yeah.
And I found myself in a situation in terms of a relationship breakup where I knew I wasn't going to have my children every weekend. I wasn't going to be with my children every weekend. So I found myself in a position where I knew that at least one weekend a month, I would have some free time. So I looked into what I could do to try and implement this. Right, what can I do to give back to help others?
Yeah.
And this is like a shameless plug. I'm just going to give them. I found this thing called the Independent Visitor Scheme, and I know you know about this, but for those that don't, it is a befriending scheme of a child who is in care and in foster care, and who you take out once a month. And you get matched with them. It's a brilliant process. You get matched with them, and obviously you go through all these safety checks, and it's all well regulated. But essentially, you end up taking a child out once a month for a fun experience. So I've been doing this for 4 years now, and I started doing that thinking, well, I really want to be helping someone, and I'll see what happens with helping me. But it's immeasurable, like the amount of positivity that's brought to my life. An amazing relationship with with an amazing person who I've like now known since they were 7 years old, and they're like 11 and a half now, like. And so that's like a big kind of positive, but also knowing what he gets out of our relationship is just kind of makes me glow. It's an unbelievable thing to do. So that kind of gave me a real taste for it. So it's really like a shout out there to people, really, to say, have a look at what time you've got and what you can do to give back and to help others. And
there are lots of opportunities as well, depending on what your interests are. There are so many things that you can do and get involved in. I mean, Google is a wonderful thing when it comes to looking stuff up. I mean, it's obviously an evil beast normally, but when it comes to looking stuff up, it's great because there are so many different things, whether you're into animals or children or nature or whatever you're into. So many volunteering opportunities.
Yeah, I've just come off the phone actually before we started this with a colleague of ours, Vicky. Shout out to Vicky, who volunteers on a Thursday morning at the farm, and she goes and she said she's been harvesting curly kale, some other kind of kale. She listed a few different kales, but basically was doing this kind of picking this like
things that you learn
veg this morning, and kind of like, who knew that a marrow is just a big courgette? If you take nothing away from this podcast other than that, you've learned something. But yeah, that's what she's been doing this morning, and it's a brilliant thing. And actually, the organization we work for gives you the opportunity to do some volunteering as part of your working hours.
That's it. You can have a little bit of time, can't you?
And I recommend to anyone to actually do it, because one, it's good for other people and it's good for wherever you're working, but two, it really does kind of benefit you well. And I think like the other kind of big one for me is like a peer-to-peer support group. So there's Healthy Minds is the name of the peer-to-peer support group where we work, and creating or working at the beginning of that to make it established into something again gave me a lot of pride, and it enabled me to like look at things and go, okay, well, I'm even if I do nothing else with it, I help to set it up, so now it's something that I'll always kind of be a part of. But in those sessions, people are naturally helping each other by actually attending those, because you're sharing experiences and you're listening to other people and giving them feedback. And there's something about hearing other people's points of view that's really helpful, isn't there?
There is, and you hear so many stories about. It's interesting, the farm one, because I was watching something on TV recently. I think it might have even been a hairy bikers or something like that, where there were farms that really are largely staffed by volunteers who are going for exactly that reason. It's helping their mental health, and it's being outdoors, it's having access to the equivalent of a garden if you haven't got a garden. And there's so many things that are really great. And Healthy Minds was wonderful because it evolved into Helpy Minds with the volunteering arm as well. But actually, sometimes those different volunteering opportunities develop your skills at work as well. They offer more than one opportunity wrapped up in one. One of the reasons that I love doing coaching and mentoring is because you get the opportunity to see somebody else develop and achieve their best. And that's nice. That's more than, I don't really have an ambition that says what I want to do in life. I don't have a career ambition or a particular goal like that. I get satisfaction from watching other people grow. And that's lovely.
Did you set out with that in mind? Was that something you had an awareness of before?
No, I did to an extent that I enjoy working with people to develop their skills. But no, not really. I originally set out learning to be an executive coach. I was interested in business coaching for business leaders, and I still love it. I've got some exec clients, and I do enjoy that style of coaching. And at that point, was not in the least bit interested in what I would term life coaching.
Right.
That was something that really came later with that absolute realization that you are only one being. You're not a being at work and a being at home, however much you think you might be, and that you can put your home life in a box or your work life in a box. You can't. There isn't a box that can contain those two things separately. And therefore the whole person is the whole person. And unless you coach the whole person, then you're only making superficial change.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think it's fascinating that you went into that without that realization, the same as I'm saying that some of the things I've done, it wasn't like a deliberate thing. But now when you get that realization that actually, oh, I enjoy that, and that gives something to me too, it's like a win-win, isn't it? So you kind of, you're hopefully helping someone else and you're benefiting too.
Yeah, there is. I think when you go into it, you think you're going in for one reason, but you come out having gained, I don't know, 4 or 5 times the number of things you thought you were getting when you went into it. You know, whether you're going into it for some fresh air in the outdoors, and what you come away with are new friends and new experiences and new skills. Whatever you're going into the volunteering for, you're going to come out with far more than you ever expected when you went into it.
Yeah, and interestingly, I mentioned earlier about the 5 or 6 ways to well-being, and one of them is connecting with other people. We both just mentioned that, and another one of them is about always improving your skills. And that could be something really basic, just something really small, or it could be like learning a foreign language or learning about marrows, like I did this morning. So like you tick those other boxes, which essentially enable you to kind of grow and develop and have those feelings too. So it's a real kind of opportunity. And again, it's just about reinforcing it. I know we may repeat ourselves a bit with this podcast, but it is about, if you look for those opportunities where you can be involved in something that you might have like a passion for, or you might, or even if you don't know, give it a go, try something small, because actually the benefit that you'll get from it can be quite big.
It's easy to test the theory. I'll tell you why it's easy to test the theory. Next time you're walking down a street and you see somebody who needs help with something, either they want some money for a cup of tea, and I'm not a one for giving money to people. I don't mind giving somebody a cup of tea or something to eat,
yeah.
but I do understand that giving people money is a risky thing. But people are often looking for help, even if it's somebody who needs a help with their bags or to reach something down from a shelf that they can't reach. Next time you're in a shop or you're walking down the street and you notice that somebody needs help and you walk on by, notice how you feel about that. And there'll be a level of indifference and maybe there's nothing. And then stop and help them or offer them help. And then notice how you feel afterwards when you walk away. It's completely different.
Yeah.
And even that small act of, can I help you?
Yeah, I put down on my little notes here about random acts of kindness as well, as in terms of little things that are helping other people. And again, we had a colleague, a mutual colleague who I can't remember what month it was, but there was one month in the year.
In Lent.
And it was during Lent.
In Lent, yeah.
And she would do something every day. So some days she'd come in with some daffodils for the office. Some days she would buy someone a coffee just randomly, just come and give them a coffee and say, that's for you. All sorts of things that she would do. And again, I remember speaking to her about it, and she was saying, oh, it makes me feel so fantastic. And I actually tried it. There's 2 stories actually. The first one was I was in a queue in a coffee shop, pre-pandemic, and I was in a queue for a coffee shop, and I kind of knew the person in front of me. We'd been on a training course or something a year earlier, and we recognized each other, so we got chatting. And she got to the counter first, and I went, oh, actually, let me get that for you. And she was like, what? And I said, oh, I'm just going to buy you a coffee. She was like, what I don't like kind of, it's so funny because it was just like, that's society, isn't it? It's so kind of that it was just like shock on her face and like, why? And I went, I'm just testing the theory, this random acts of kindness. And she was like buzzing, she was like, we chatted about it.
Yeah, it made somebody's day, don't you?
And so I'm kind of like, it does really work, those kind of things. The flip side, I always like to give a bit of balance. Cafe Nero used to give these a free drink if you had the O2 app, if you were like on O2 as a like. So I remember walking to the train station one day in Leeds and thinking, I haven't had my Cafe Nero today. I didn't want one, but I was like, I'm going to waste it. So I went into a Cafe Nero as I had a few minutes before I got the train. And I went in and I got a drink for a homeless person. I thought I'll just give it to the nearest homeless person. So it was quite an unusual order because I was thinking, what would a homeless person like to drink? And I'd never put myself in those shoes before. So anyway, I went for a hot chocolate. And so I got this hot chocolate, large, and I came out of Cafe Nero. I walked down the steps, crossed the road, and I said to this lad, I've just got that for you, and put it down. And he looked up at me and he went, bloody hell, I got 3 of them now. And I think maybe people, I was like, that's really interesting because it was funny, but it was like, actually, there are some like-minded people here that I'm filling in the blanks here, but I'm guessing they've also used their Cafe Nero free drink, and they've thought that's a nice thing to do. I'll do it. So fascinating as well that there's other people that have this kind of mindset.
As we're talking, because we didn't exactly prepare to have this conversation, we just came at the conversation, and I was thinking about needing to, having to, and wanting to. So there's something about helping other people just because you can and you've chosen to, and one of the reasons it feels so good is because you don't have to. There's so many things in life we tell ourselves we have to do. I have to go to work. I have to clean the house. I have to. And that can be quite stressful because we're telling ourselves in the way that we talk to ourselves that this is a necessity. I've got no choice in it. Whereas there's something about wanting to do something. Nobody's making you.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to criticize you if you don't. But actually choosing to do something, because it's such a positive and proactive thing that nobody else has made you do. I think that's one of the reasons that it feels good. You didn't have to. Nobody made you.
That's quite a powerful thing, isn't it, to realize? Because there is a difference. Because if you go and do something because you feel obliged to, there can be an element of resentment, can't there? And you're kind of like, whereas and I bet you actually enjoy it more if you go at it with that attitude as well.
Well, you probably, bizarrely, the thing that I was thinking of in the back of my mind was, I talked to quite a few people about achieving a healthy weight, because I've got a thing about not losing weight, because if you lose stuff, your brain wants to find it again. So don't lose weight, because otherwise your brain goes around putting it back on for you, because it's like, you've lost that, I give it you back. And when you talk to people about achieving a healthy weight, almost all of the people that I've spoken to that have, I have a real problem with that. It's, well, do you know what to do? Do you actually logically know what to do? Do you know how to have a healthy diet? Do you know about the benefits of fitness? And the answer is always yes. So it's not a lack of knowledge. And then you talk to them a little bit more, and almost always they're talking about, I need to lose weight. I say, yeah, I know, but what do you want to do? Oh, well, I want to. As well, what's stopping you? Because you know how to.
Yeah.
And it's something to do with that sense of necessity. It's quite off-putting, whereas doing something because you choose to, because you want to, because actually you tell yourself, I'm doing it because I want to. There's absolutely no obligation. I'm doing it because I want to. So much more motivating as well.
That's so true, because I find myself in a kind of certainly, like with my relationship with food, if regular listeners will have heard me talk about this loads, but I've had a bad ankle on and off for the last like 18 months. And and I've been told by a physio that it's my hips. It's actually my hips being tight, and it's those that I need to work on, and then the ankle pain goes away. But during the period where it's painful and I can't, I'm not supposed to go running. And if I do, it just really hurts for 2 or 3 days. And then I'll go, oh, maybe I could get another run in. And if I don't go running, my mental health really suffers. So I'm like, so I developed this thing of need rather than wanting to. But when I'm not able to do it and it's taken away from me, I actually can get into a bit of a funk with my food choices. So it's like a real double whammy. So I'll start like, eating way too much sugar or like, cakes, or just really, I kind of,
because the exercise is giving you that feel good factor, because it's what you want. So going for the run is giving you the feel good factor, and when that route to feeling good is taken away, you replace it with unhealthy choices, because it does the same thing, but it just does the same thing in an unhealthy way.
But it's
making the right choice.
The interesting thing is like that when I am running, or when I am doing exercise, I would have thought that I would more reach for the cakes and the donuts then, because I'd be like, well, I've earned it. But actually the opposite happens. And I go down a path of like, well, I'm not going to undo all that by going and eating 4 donuts.
Yeah, because you're into the world of what you want.
Yeah.
I've been for a run, actually. I don't want to undo it.
Yeah.
Whereas when you haven't been for the run, your body's just going, no, I want a feel good factor. So come on, feed me chocolate, feed me crisps, feed me comfort food.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to get it that way. And if you're not going to let me have it the right way, I'm going to have it the wrong way.
And it's
but whenever you try and whenever you're trying to do something and necessity is trying to compete with want and choice and what you want in life, then it's never going to win. And quite often we don't really truly want to achieve a healthy weight, because it means not having a feel good factor the easy way.
Yeah,
so get out and do some volunteering, because apart from anything, it's going to keep you distracted, and it's going to keep you away from the unhealthy choices that you can make otherwise.
Yeah, that's right. And some of the and some of the things to do, like we say about like this friend of ours who's gone to do the at the farm, that's got to be physical work as well. So it gets you moving, and she does it in the morning before. Like I say, she starts work a bit late on that day, but she has to get up and get so you get yourself moving, and you get yourself, and speaking to her, she was very like enthusiastic about it. Well, I know it's like drizzling out there and it's a bit cold, but there was none of that. She didn't mention any of that. It was just like, yeah, I really enjoyed that, like hands in the earth and all that kind of good stuff. So it is, possibly the blocks to this and the blocks to being like giving back, if you like, are those fears that we have about doing something new, or the fears that we have about, what if I do it wrong? What if I don't know what to do? What if the people aren't friendly towards me? What if? So they,
and what if they just said thank you instead? What if that was the only thing that happened? Somebody was just grateful for what you did.
Yeah, and that's right. And I think that's the kind of way around that people, sometimes we do have a mindset of that's for other people. And it can be the same thing can go for exercise or for how did you word the weight one? People who are trying to
achieving a healthy weight.
Achieve a healthy weight. Again, people will think,
stop trying to lose things. Your brain will give it back.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it, the way it works? And I think that there's an aspect of a bit like that law of attraction as well. That kind of like, if you're putting stuff out there that is positive, and if you go into it with a positive mindset, then it comes back to the thing I always think about you when we discuss these kind of things. Like the I don't know I can't remember how you describe it or what you call it, but the peripheral vision, where I can look in my kitchen now. You can look at the screen where I can see you, but if I say to myself, look for red things, then the tea towel there pops up, the kettle pops up, the tablecloth pops up, and then I can change it to like brown, and I can then the chair and the work surface come out of, they're the things that kind of come into my mind.
Yeah, and your brain notices the things that you're telling it are for some reason important or interesting. So if the only thing that's on your mind is not eating the chocolate cake and not eating the crisps, then all that your brain does is look for those things. Whereas if your mind is on going to the farm and picking the different types of kale, then that's what it's paying attention to. And so it stops noticing all the things that you don't want.
Yeah.
Your brain just doesn't do negatives. It does do negatives, but it does them in 2 steps. So it has to do the positive part of it first. To not think about the blue tree. So don't think about the blue tree, whatever you do. Just don't think about a blue tree. And of course, the question is what you're thinking about, Chris.
Yeah. I was just going to say, what's everyone else? I'm thinking about the bloody blue tree. Yeah. See, I always have a negative thing. I think, oh, dang it, you got me. I bet everyone is, most people are the same, because you can't process that negative, can you?
You can only process the negative by processing the positive first. You have to think about the blue tree in order to not do that, which is why you say to people, remember your keys rather than don't forget your keys, because otherwise they have to process forgetting their keys.
Tell me about learning to ride a motorbike, because that I know, because people will like that story and I know it.
Oh, okay. So my husband has bright ideas on a regular basis, and one of his bright ideas was that we would have a motorbike instead of a second car, because we both needed to travel to work and to pick up kids and stuff like that. But I can't ride a bike, so I went to learn to ride a motorbike. And I thought, I'm not going to be beaten. I don't actually want to learn to ride this motorbike particularly, but I'm not going to be beaten by it. I'm going to succeed at this. I'm not really very good on any sort of bike. I haven't got a great sense of balance, quite honestly. It's not my thing. So I went on one of these fast track motorcycle riding courses and surprised myself in that largely I could do this. Didn't necessarily feel happy all of the time, but was getting the hang of it. It took me most of the week to try to stop putting my seatbelt on, because like there isn't one on the motorbike, but that sense of something missing on your shoulder was just really, really strange. Anyway, when it comes to doing your motorbike test, you have to do a U-turn twice. First of all, you have to get off the motorbike and push the motorbike round in a U-turn. And that was okay. I mean, despite the fact it's heavy, that was okay. I could do that bit. But the second one is you have to ride the bike round in a U-turn. And of course, that is my worst nightmare scenario, because I have very little sense of balance, and you have to do it slowly when you need the greatest sense of balance. And I struggled. I really struggled. So in the motorcycle training place, they have 2 white lines on the tarmac, which are about road width apart, so that you haven't got any curbs. And every single time I went over the white line, and I went over the white line, and I went over the white line, and I knew what to do. I just wasn't doing it. The fact is, I knew what to do. A bit like getting a healthy weight. I knew what to do. I just wasn't doing it. So the instructor was trying to help, and it just wasn't working, because I'm not very good at being taught things. Good at learning them, but not being taught them. So I wasn't reacting very well. I was having a bit of a tantrum. I said, right, get on the back of the bike. I'll show you how to do it. Well, I hate being on the back of the bike. That's even worse than riding the bike. So that didn't work either. I just threw a real wobbly about that one. Teddy was out the cot, stomped off. And then another instructor came along and he said, look, just look at the place you want to be. And I'm like, I am. And he said, no, you're not. You're looking at the curb. You're looking at the white line. You need to look at the car that's parked next to the curb. And I had a bit of a tantrum about that initially. And I was like, you want me to hit the car now, not just the curb? Oh, the blooming car then, will I? And he said, no, just trust me. Just look at the car, not the curb. And I thought, yeah, I know he's right. I don't know why I haven't been doing it, because I know he's right. The thing is, sometimes it's not about what you know, it's about your ability to overcome the habit. And of course, as soon as I started looking at the car and not the curb anymore, there's no problem. Passed my test. It's absolutely
There you go.
fine.
Brilliant.
I
love the idea of you having a
knowing
paddy.
stuff. I can have a really good paddy when I
I
want
love
one
the
as
idea
well.
of you. I mean, did you have like a Hell's Angels jacket on while you do? I've got this beautiful image in my mind of
I
you,
did,
like,
yeah.
the
Little
but I mean,
wolf on the helmet, that sort of thing, yeah.
yeah, there you go. It's a really good demonstration though of where you put your focus, isn't it? And like where you put your attention, and if you're aware of these things. So, just back to real basics of what we're talking about, helping others. It's if you do have some spare time, if you have some free time, or even if you don't, I've heard you talk lots of times before about, almost like there's no such thing as not having enough time. It's like, it's about prioritizing, isn't it? So
That's
if
how
you
you
kind
choose
of,
to use it.
yeah, it's how you choose to use the time that you have. So, you have the opportunity to actually create some time, or use it to do something that helps somebody else. Move your focus away from the 19th episode of Succession that you've watched that night or whatever. Welcome to my life. But like, and see if there's somewhere else that you can put that focus. And ultimately for you, with that analogy, it's paid off, because you've now.
It is. There's I know we're getting towards the end of this conversation. There's a presupposition in NLP, which is, it's one that I quite like. Presuppositions are convenient beliefs, things that if you chose to believe them, how would you look at the world differently? And the presupposition says everyone's doing the best with the resources that they have available to them. And quite often when somebody has a problem, something they're not achieving that they want to achieve, like passing their motorbike test or achieving a healthy weight, then other people come along and they're really helpful and they tell you how to do it. And of course, the problem never was that I didn't know how to do it. The problem was whether or not I believed I could. And so the resources were there. I just wasn't accessing them. And sometimes when we're helping others, they need a different type of help to the one that you initially think. Because actually, sometimes they have got some of the resources, they're just not necessarily able to access all of them all of the time.
Yeah. And if you can get that help, and if you can actually,
and that's why people want all sorts of help in all sorts of different ways. So whatever you think you can or you can't do, there's still something that you can contribute, because somebody else probably can't access that resource.
Yeah.
It's not about it's all sorts of things that go on.
Yeah.
Life is not a simple place.
That's a really nice way to finish it, actually. I really like that. So we said, just a glimpse behind the curtain. I was like, how are we going to talk about this for half an hour? So I'm just going to tell people, go help people. But look, thank you so much for coming on and talking to me again.
Always a pleasure.
I think I'm going to struggle to ever let you go out of this series. I said we'd do 8, but I feel like we're coming towards the end. We've only got a few left. But look, thank you as always, and thank you guys out there for listening. As always, for other episodes, have a look on iTunes, have a look on Spotify, type Mental Conversations. I'm going to be releasing a YouTube channel soon too, so look out for that. Another episode's going to be winging its way to you soon. Thanks, everyone.